You hear him?
Yes, we're live on this side.
Okay, give me a second. I'm going to roll intro here on air and then we'll go.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and our running back coach didn't take it. biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial, 12:30 a.m. WTBC. Wow, what a morning. Want to remind you that this is the day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Of course, the news of yesterday preempts today's planning. We usually talk a little recruiting, a little true, false, lots of different things we get to, but today is all about honoring the GOAT. So that's what we're going to do. Good morning, X. How you doing?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you? Shocking morning. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's probably an understatement of the year. Lots of people got lots of thoughts, lots of comments, and so we want to invite you to get in on the conversation at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline. And you can, of course, all of those of you who join us on the live stream, you know that you can add your comments, your thoughts, your reactions, your questions in on the stream. Wow. What a day. What a day. This is one of those days where you wish you had a lot more than an hour just to offer up honor to the GOAT. A lot of people are shocked by today, wondering what's going on and how did this happen and why did it happen? Well, you have a platform to express and ask those questions. So please feel welcome to do so. X, I guess I'll get your initial thoughts, but before I get to that, guys, I do want to say that I want to give my kudos at the beginning of the show. That was shocked by the news, the suddenness of the news, which makes me wonder the why. And I've heard a lot of reasons why. I've given some reasons why. But I'm coming down on the side of it's family. It's family. It's family. I would be shocked that Nick Saban ran from NIL, transfer portal, etc. The only thing I've thought that may have been a reason is he just can't get the level of coaches that he wants. And with the fact that Bo Davis is now back in the SEC, but now he's able to go to LSU, which is where he played. And I don't think I've ever mentioned on airways, Bo Davis and I played against each other. He was a defensive lineman at Ole Miss. I mean, at LSU. So So there's a lot to talk about. I guess the questions I have out there is who you think is going to be. I'm probably going to shoot down several other people that people think for various reasons, but I'll let you have your opinion and your thoughts. X. But before I get out of here, let me say it one more time. Thank you, Coach Saban, for 17 unbelievable years, and for years I think to come. And you'll get credit for the next 4, 5, 6 years too, in my opinion. Thank you, Miss Terry, for your support and sacrifice. Thank you to the family. And thank you, everybody saying this, but thank you to all of the players, all the way back to the first guys who stuck around when Shula left, and took us to the first one. When you weren't a Nick Saban recruit, you were the first one to do it perfect. And until his last one, you were the only one. Thank you. And thank you to every player in between then and now that ever played in these last 17 years that brought back Bama's pride and glory on the football field. And thank to all of the staffers, all of the coaches who have come through here. Thank you all for this great run. But we honor the GOAT today. X, what you got, man?
Man, I sit here now at 32, just a few days after 17 years ago as a 15-year-old, hearing Nick Saban was coming to Alabama. And after the first, 15 years of my life, probably the 13 after you played, it was rough as an Alabama fan growing up. I didn't know this great, steep tradition of Alabama. I'd always heard about it, but no memories of it. But with Coach Saban, 17 years, 6 national championships, 9 SEC championships that I can remember sitting down watching, that I'll get to share the memories and things with my son and daughter and talk about this great era of Alabama football. And as you said, thank you to the coaches that, along with Coach Saban, that have been here, that helped us achieve this. The players, Miss Terry, his family that supported him through all of this. And you talked about the guys who were here when it started that weren't his players. I want to go in and say thank you to the guys that are still going to trust the process and the system for the next guy. And those guys, sticking it out when, especially in this era where it's easy to hop in the portal and go somewhere else. I want to go ahead and say thank you to those guys who are going to trust what Coach Saban has done in the hands that he's leaving this program into.
Absolutely. So, well, some people asking questions. Let me go ahead and address people asking about the Bama clause. I think we misunderstand the Bama clause. The Bama clause actually is the opposite of what you think. The buyout is what would keep people from coming here. Dan Lanning has a $20 million buyout. If he didn't have that buyout, my question is he worth it and is he ready? That's number one, because so you already know, you've already heard my thoughts on Dan Lanning. Dabo has a Bama clause. Urban Meyer, I think, may have been the guy who started this when these buyouts got big. The buyout, the Bama clause, or in his case, Urban Meyer, it was the Notre Dame clause. It meant that any time Notre Dame came coming, he could leave. The Bama clause doesn't prevent the guys from coming. It allows them to come. Okay. So Dabo supposedly has a Bama clause. I think Kiffin may as well. And it means that they can get up out of there without all of that punishment and penalty. So you get what I'm saying, X? So I think it's the opposite of what people think. Buyouts is what prevents it from happening. And we'll see what else. happens. We do have a caller, so we'll go ahead and work him in. Alan, you're in on the Alabama One hotline. What's with Martin and Xavier? What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm down here with Mickey Mouse having a good time, delivering Orlando. I go inside one of these stores, inside one of the places to get something to eat, and people are crowded around the TV. I thought the president got shot or something. And they're just looking at it. Some of them are cheering. He's gone. I'm saying, who's gone? And all of a sudden they said, Nick Saban, we can win again. I said, oh, Lord. Which I already heard it. I just want him to say it out loud. You know what I'm saying? But, but it was sort of funny, Nick Saban, I'm 17 years, and it's been good. Coach Saban hit the portal on us, so now we got to get somebody else out of the portal now.
Hey, here's the question I have. Alan, here's the question I have. The saddest part of this is especially across the state, Auburn seems to be happier that Nick Saban left than they were that they hired Freeze.
They are.
Think about that for a second. All over the country, there are teams, especially in the SEC and then top programs around the country, celebrating Nick Saban retiring more than they did their last coach's hiring. And so this is crazy to me that's the case, but it is. You got anything else before I let you go, Alan? Hey, Alan.
Yeah. I got one more thing.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay. We don't want the coach from Oregon. He's not proven yet. And we, everybody keeps saying Sark. Martin, I don't believe Sark is even in the running for it. I don't believe he wants that job, and I'm going to tell you why. He is not going to give up that chance to coach Manning. That's the bottom line. He got Manning there, and he thinks he can probably win 2 or 3 championships, if not more, with Manning. So he's not coming, and you got that oil money out there in Texas. And I don't believe he wants to come here with the pressure that the next coach is going to have pressure. Either at a coin toss. Oh, Nick Saban wouldn't have took that coin toss like that.
Yeah.
So he's going to always be second guess no matter what. So whoever comes here, they're going to have thick skin, and he's going to have some kind of contract that says, hey, y'all got to give me at least 4 or 5 years.
And here's the thing.
Some of these players are not going to happen.
And the other part of that, you better get a proven winner and someone who is taking a program somewhere. And it ain't but a handful of those guys. I know there's people out there that don't like Dabo and whatever and worried about the transfer portal. Guys, don't let that transfer portal thing worry you. I want all of you, all Alabama fans, just listen to the Martin Houston show. I want you to listen to what Dabo said publicly. And then I want you to go back and look at what Dabo did in the portal in terms of NIL. I'm not as worried about the transfer portal. That's going to become what it becomes. But the NIL, go back and see if Dabo didn't do things for the NIL before Saban did. That's what people don't understand. Is Dabo said this, but then he went out and remember, how many head-to-heads have Dabo won over Saban on the field and in recruiting? How many understand that Clemson was Michigan State? Clemson was Michigan State, and Dabo took it to the mountaintop. And here's the question I have. If there is no Nick Saban in college football, Alan, how many national championships would Dabo Swinney have won in his run?
Oh, he'd have won probably about 4 in a row.
I mean, everybody forgets that. The reason Dabo doesn't have 4 national championships by the age of 50, is because of Nick Saban. He has 2. Nobody else in the game has more than him. So you better go after a proven winner and not off the hot item. How many hot guys have actually panned out in the long run? Not a lot. So I need to get the break here. I need to get the break here. You guys have heard my thoughts. I'm not saying that Dabo's the guy, but everybody is saying, hey, let's not consider a national championship winning coach who coached, played, and loves the state, who's proven he can recruit at a school that's not the same level as Alabama. I wouldn't just throw that out the window for a guy who hadn't won anything. We'll talk about it more on the other side. If you have thoughts, comments, and reactions to Alan's statement, my statement, your statement, you can do it by posting right on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or you can call us at the 205-342-9904.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We are watching an accident investigation from a crash. It actually happened late last night, still taking place on eastbound 2059 near Skyland Boulevard. However, we're not noting any major backup through the area there. If you're traveling along McFarland Boulevard, coming in from Coker, passing up Lurling Wallace down to the I-20 interchange, you're moving nicely there at posted speeds into and out of the area. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Ray Romero.
Tired of that gas-guzzling big SUV? It's like trying to park a school bus. Hi, Barry Buckner here at Tuscaloosa Hyundai, and you wouldn't believe how many Tahoes, Expeditions, Suburbans, even Escalades are trading for a new Hyundai Palisade. They're amazed with Palisade's luxury, technology, and a price tens of thousands less. It's no surprise KBB.com named Palisade one of the best family vehicles 3 years in a row. At Tuscaloosa Hyundai, our best Palisade feature is no added side stickers. Come see what a difference that makes on your new Palisade. Come take a Palisade test drive, and I promise you'll be pleasantly surprised. If you want to pay more, that's your business. If you want to save, that's our business. Tuscaloosa Hyundai, corner of Skyland and Hargrove, TuscaloosaHyundai.com.
Now is the time to make sure your boat is serviced for spring fishing with the help of PTG Outdoors, your authorized Mercury sales and service center in Northport. PTG Outdoors does service for all outboards and repair for Yamaha, Mercury, and Suzuki motors. They sell Camus bass boats, Minn Kota trolling motors, Humminbird, Garmin, and Lawrence Electronics, as well as fishing tackle rods and reels. Financing is available with approved credit. PTG Outdoors, open Monday through Friday, 8 till 5 in the old L&L Marine location in Northport. Call 333-160.
Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 33 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. Good morning to all of you joining on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at Martin J. Houston 35 and Martin Houston 35 on X. Glad to have you with us. We're live, local, and got things rolling on your home for Alabama Sports Talk 100.9 at 12:30 a.m. as well. Call us on the Alabama One hotline if you want to talk the old-fashioned way, or keep posting your thoughts, comments, and reactions. We'll work those in here. Curtis Moore II said, just goes to show, although other teams are celebrating and happy about Saban retiring, it shows much respect and relevance those other teams still have for Saban at 72. That's all I need to know. Dismiss the haters, etc. D9 McMillan saying, roll Tide, new morning, new day, new chance to get it right. Larry Miller saying, I don't see Nick as not calculating everything. I think this has been the plan, and I also don't think Byrne was taken by surprise, would not be shocked if a few people also knew this was going to happen. Also, why I think this search is short, if not already over, we will see. MHS 0407 says Lanning was initially not on my list, but if he flies in today, he might get the job. Then it is about the money, and if he gets full control of the program, Saban will be part of the hiring process. Kiffin, Ryan, Tomlinson, that's my top three, according to Leighton Law. Hey, listen, Dan Lanning has In 2015, Dan Lanning was a GA at Alabama. And I'm not saying since then, in the last 8 years, he hasn't grown to be a really good coach. But he spent some time at Memphis, and then he was a linebacker coach in D.C. at Georgia under Kirby. I want everybody to grasp that. At Georgia under Kirby. And he had success. He went out to Oregon. Now he's had 2 years at Oregon. Don't forget that he was able to get a guy who had played about 100 games to be his quarterback there in Bo Nix, and he got a lot of guys from Alabama and from other places, so he did work the portal. But is the Pac-12, after 2 years, are you ready to say that this guy can coach at the big league? He only had 2 games really of importance, and he lost both of them to Washington. Okay, and then you watch what his team did to Washington against Michigan versus what Alabama did against Michigan. And we talked about how bad the coaching was at Alabama. And so I think now Lanning was the guy that I said, man, in 3 years, if Saban makes it 3 years, he could be the dude. But I'm not sure he's ready after 2 years to take on this program. I watched him coach, and he made some bad choices in key moments that directly, in my opinion, cost his team the game. Now, if Lanning gets the job, I'm going to be all in on Lanning. X, back to real quick, and I want you to respond back to Larry Miller. I don't think this was a surprise, but I also don't think this was a long plan either. I've heard and know some things that I can't share. And if they're confirmed, I'll share them at that time. Okay. But if Nick Saban just walked into those players and told them, now I think the players may have heard for the first time, but there is no way that Nick Saban, the process guy, the guy who talks about how much he loves these players, walked in yesterday and him and Burns didn't have a plan. I don't know if the coach hasn't already been hired. Okay. And they're working through the negotiations. That's kind of Martin's feelings. Now, listen to this. I know that Nick Saban did an interview yesterday, with a Tennessee coach. And then he stepped down yesterday afternoon. Yesterday morning, interviewing someone, stepped down. To me, that tells me that whoever they have coming in said, hey, I can't interview him, but this is a guy that I want on my staff. Would you go ahead and interview him so he knows that we're still interested and it doesn't go all out the way? So that's my thoughts. What you got real quick, and then we're going to get to some phone calls.
Yeah, I mean, the next coach, regardless, is going to have big shoes to fill, and they need to be given time to fill those shoes and grow as a coach. It's always hardest replacing a legend. I think Alabama might go outside the bubble. I think Dabo would be a great pick. I think Lanning is an up-and-coming coach. Does he have enough time? That just depends. But I know Alabama has a plan in set, and I think the next head coach has already been picked.
I do too. And Denon McMillan making the point, losing Bo to LSU might show just how difficult it is to hire guys that Saban won't. Big difference. Coaches needing longer contracts than Saban can give out. 1 or 2 years, all Saban was looking at. Timothy Robinson reminding us the last time we went Pac-12, we got Mike Price. We also know that Mike Price had some of this, I'm not saying to the degree, but some of the off-the-field issues that plagues the guy that everybody's throwing out there. I'm not concerned about Kiffin on the field at all. I'm not worried about that at all. But I'm worried about him off the field in the spotlight of Alabama football. Mike Price didn't just change when he got to Alabama. It's just that he was in a place that football wasn't king and wasn't the most recognizable person in the state. Here at Alabama, you can't do what you do everywhere else. As Coach Stallings used to tell us, "God almighty, man, everywhere you go, you represent God, your family, and Alabama football." He drilled that into us. Does Kiffin understand that? I don't know. And it's totally different doing that stuff when you're an assistant than a head coach, and when you're at Alabama versus Ole Miss, Tennessee, USC. Even at USC, even though it's this higher profile, it's in LA, so it's lost. Here, spotlight, floodlight, multiples. Robert in Mobile, you're in with Martin and Xavier on Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
I'm still laughing at your impersonation of Gene Stallings. So give me a minute.
You know, every time we got ready to go out on the weekend, Robert, every break, every weekend, that was his words to us, man. Don't forget it, because if you forget it, I won't.
I wish all kids thought about that with just being a member of their own family too. Hey, that's what you represent your family also. Yeah, could you guys tell me where I need to send my flowers or condolences to? It feels like a funeral. I couldn't feel any worse if you told me Nick Saban died. Really, I honestly couldn't.
Well, the thing that's better is I think he still will have influence. I think, like I said, I think he's going to still be. I think he's going to still have some influence. I think he's going to make Tuscaloosa home. I think he'll have his cabins and all that stuff, but I think Tuscaloosa may be home.
Look at the reactions online and from people. It reminds me of the third Star Wars movie when the Emperor got thrown down the energy shaft and the Death Star blew up, and the celebration on the planet Ewoks and all the Ewoks celebrating. That is how college football feels right now. The Emperor is dead, and we can celebrate, and the Death Star is destroyed. And
let me ask you this, Robert: who you going after? Who you want?
I would want, if I could pick my guy, it would be Steve Sarkisian.
Yep.
And during that game when Nick Saban was out, he looked so natural on the Alabama sideline, and just like nothing. It was like Saban wasn't gone at all. That during that COVID year when Sarkisian was there,
yep.
It was that his things were that smooth. But he's at Texas, and they'll throw the bank at him, so that's not happening. But if I could pick somebody, it would be Steve Sarkisian. So Lane Kiffin's interesting. I understand what you guys say about Dabo, and man, 3-4 years ago, I'd be right with you with Dabo Sweeney. But I'm still worried about NIL and and it's transfer portal really. And NIL, I'm not worried.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Go back. He did things for his players even before Saban did. This
transfer portal affects everything.
That's the transfer portal is the question.
Yeah. That's what got me worried.
Yeah, I can see that.
No, you do. I don't. Do you want to be an Alabama quarterback, not knowing how to do it? Head coach, not having that nailed down yet. And like you said, it's the person who follows the man that has the hardest time. You always want to be the second person to follow the man. And that may be a little easier for you. So who's going to want that? But one thing about it, Nick Saban, the wellness is dry. It's not like what Jimbo Fisher did at Florida State or Texas A&M. He's not coming in with a dry well. It's just,
right.
Can you now, like you just said, can you navigate being the head coach of Alabama?
And Jackie B, and I'll let you go out there, Robert. Jackie B, who listens in on the app, the Top 109 app, 15 minutes from Clemson. And he's saying, all I'm hearing up here is Dabo's bags are packed. So
it could very well be.
Hey, listen. This is, and I'll say this while you're on and let you go. And thanks for the call. Remember, Kirby didn't initially embrace the portal, and his version of the portal is different than the portal that Kiffin does and the portal that Lanning does. Okay, and in Prime. Go back and look and see Saban. What has Saban done with the portal now? Saban's not all in the portal. He's losing a lot more than he's bringing in. He's methodical. That's not a hard thing to do because he has said, my thing with the portal is going to be to fill my needs like an NFL coach does free agency. I don't think that's a big jump for Dabo. I also want people to understand Judkins is in Ohio State because of the way Kiffin works the portal. I want people to understand he lost his best player because of the portal. Don't believe all this hype about he's a problem in the locker room. He wasn't a problem in the locker room before the early signing period. We never heard that. We heard that after the early signing period when they went out and offered all of these guys money. And then Judkins is going, whoa. I've been a part of this program for 2 years, and now you're going to bring a guy in from somewhere else and pay him $1.2 million, $1.4 million? I want 1.8. It's a NFL problem that made itself into the college football locker room because of the same thing that used to happen when they were giving rookie quarterbacks $25 million and a veteran that had helped that team win for years was getting $3 million. Don't believe all the hype that you hear in the media. Sometimes getting the portal, Alabama don't need the portal the way other schools need the portal. And hey, that may not be that big of a swing for Dabo. For those of you on the phone line, keep waiting, keep holding. We'll get to you. For those of you who are on the live stream, keep the comments coming. I might even do a little overtime for those of you who are here. We may do a little overtime. We'll go off the airwaves, but we'll stay right here on the live stream. So if you're not following the live stream, go ahead and go to facebook.com/MartinJHouston35. Thanks, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We are watching an accident investigation from a crash that actually happened late last night, still taking place on eastbound 2059 near Skyland Boulevard. However, we're not noting any major backup through the area there. If you're traveling along McFarland Boulevard, coming in from Coker, passing up Lurling Wallace down to the I-20 interchange, you're moving nicely there at posted speeds into and out of the area. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Ray Romero.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. In the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. The ugly truth is when you buy a timeshare, you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. I recently helped a couple that had their maintenance fees go from $800 to $3,200 a year. They also received a $4,000 assessment for a hurricane that was over 1,000 miles away. Sound crazy? The crazy thing is this never ends. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit. Call 800-414-7272. That's 800-414-7272. 800-414-7272.
I'm attorney Stephen Mizrano. Did you know that insurance companies will only offer you pennies on the dollar for your injury? When you're in a wreck, you need an attorney who knows the law and will fight for you. I don't back down from the insurance companies. You need to hire a proven attorney who will win. My firm will fight to make sure you get the compensation you deserve. Call 800-8000 or visit mezwins.com. I've got this.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
The Gun Show is back this Saturday and Sunday at the Condell BFW. Stop by and buy, sell, or trade guns, knives, ammo, sporting goods, and more. Gun Show hours are this Saturday 9 until 5 and Sunday 10 until 4 at the Condell BFW, 7001 University Boulevard.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back in. Thanks to Billy's Cooking Restaurant, Billy's Cooking LLC. Thanks to Alabama One, alabama1.org. Deposit to win right now. The one New Year's resolution you can keep is save today. Put that money in an account we'll make you a winner, and we'll help you keep one of your New Year's resolutions. Like I said, I think it's about family. And I'm not going to give a lot of detail on that, but I think that that there was some news waiting and news was delivered, and I think it's abrupt, but not as abrupt as we think. I think that Nick Saban, didn't go into this season, wasn't halfway through this season thinking he was going to retire, but I think he's had a little time to think about it, and I'd be shocked if there isn't a greater plan in place than we think. I know a lot of people down on Dabo, but is Lanning proven enough? Lanning, like I said, I think Lanning was the guy probably 3 years from now. I'm not sure he's ready to take on this program at this level at this moment in this season. I want to tell you, everybody thinks D'Amico's out. I can tell you from a pretty good source, he's not out of the question. The question with D'Amico is playoffs. That's throwing a wrench. If the Texans don't make it to the playoffs, D'Amico Ryan very well could be being announced this weekend. But they did. And I don't know that Alabama can wait too long. I'm going to say this. I want everybody to think about this, and this is not offensive to Alabama or Coach Saban or disrespectful. Guys, we've won one championship in 6 years. 1 in 6 years. Now, we've been relevant every year, but we've only won 1 in 6 years, and that was COVID year. That was COVID, where I don't think it was the coaching that won it as much as it was Nick Saban's process and his ability to keep his players healthy, X. So, with that said, is Clemson as far removed? Is other coaches out there as far removed from coming in here as we think? Because it's been 1 in 6 years and 0 in the last 3. And so maybe this is the best time for us to get a guy coming in when we're hungry and we can really look back and say, okay, maybe we weren't as dominant as we were. Maybe we can get back. Normal time frame, guys, is if you get a championship every 5 years, you're a dominant college program. Dominant college program. We just had a dynasty that went on forever. Think about how hyped the Michigan fans are. They've had one championship, Xavier, since 96, 97, and that was a co-championship. They've had 3 in their history, and they've had 1 outright since the 40s. And they still talk about how relevant they are. You see what I'm saying? Georgia went 40 years without one, and they've had 2. So let's be real with what we mean and what we need and all of that. And who do we think can get us there? I want a guy who's proven he can coach at the highest level. Sark is an unbelievable offensive mind. I wouldn't be disappointed with him. But X, other than this year, has he ever won double-digit games?
No, he hasn't. This is the talk of not just the talk of the town. This is the talk of the country. I mean, my phone got blown up from friends all over the country yesterday before I even got before I got the official announcement that he was retiring. Before I called you, you were the 3rd or 4th person that I'd been on the phone with. But I mean, this is, as you said, what he did is unheard of, and I don't think it will ever be replicated. I think Kirby Smart will win a couple more national championships, but I don't know if it'll be done in the time frame that Coach Saban did it. You're talking 7 national championships within a 20-year period, with 2 of those years being in the NFL. That's just something that's never going to happen again, in my opinion, in this day and age in college football. But the next guy's got to be the right guy, a guy that you can see being here for a while. I think Kiffin, Sark. I like Lanning. I know you have different thoughts about him. Dabo. I think that's a short list, and I do believe if they hold out over the weekend, even though Coach said they said 72 hours for the players, which would be Saturday.
Hey, let me ask you this: on Lanning, what is he proving? Was the Pac-12 good or was it bad? He didn't win a conference when it fell apart, and it was a 1-game schedule. So is he now? He's an unbelievable recruiter, and he can probably get really good coaches. But is he ready? And I don't know that. I'm just saying that put it like this: if he stayed in the game, he would be my new Jim Harbaugh probably. But that's a personality twerk. But hey, listen, I said the same thing about Joe Burrow. But if Joe Burrow would call and snaps on my team, he'd be my dog, right?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, let's get to the phone call. He'd be my dog, right? But I don't like him because he was at LSU. And maybe if Lanning was my man, I feel different about his ways. I get it. But
yeah,
I'm just saying I don't know that he's the best guy out there because he has the least record. He has the least proof.
And I agree with that. That's why I would love Kiffin. I would love Kiffin because I know offensively he would tweak his offense and do everything to get. It doesn't matter who's on the field. We've seen him get the best out of the guys that he puts on the field everywhere he's been.
Yeah.
So that's why I lean him. But
this is what
just real quick.
Quickly, go ahead.
How was it this way after Coach Bryant? Because I just don't. I mean, that was almost 10 years before I was born.
I think people saw Coach's health declining, and I think he may have hit the state retirement age, so he had to retire. I think that's what that was. So
okay,
it would, and so he wasn't in Alabama wasn't at that same level competing for a national title at that point. So I don't think it's the same. But here's the thing, Xavier. Dabo is the age that Saban was when he came here. He's younger. Saban was 55 when he came here. Dabo was 53, has 2 on his resume, more than Saban, has played for 4. And the guy who we're saying is a GOAT beat him twice, and he beat him twice. So maybe you go with the dog that's been there and proven that he can do it at a high level versus an unproven guy. That's my concern with Lanning. 2 years is not enough to prove to me that you're ready to take on Alabama. He may be, though. All right, Todd, you're in on the Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, good morning, Mark, man. We got to hear that Gene Stalin impersonation one more time, brother. Can you give it to us?
Yes. Hey, listen, here's my concern with Kiffin. Kiffin is he needs to hear the Coach Stalin's warning before the weekend if he's going to become the coach. God almighty, man, let me tell you something. You represent God, your family, and the University of Alabama. Don't you forget that. There you go.
Hey, man. Hey, one more thing, Brother Martin. I tell you what, man. That impersonation, man, it would be awesome if it was somehow intertwined in your introduction first thing in the morning. Man, I love it, man. I love it. I'll tell you what. Lane Kiffin is not even on the list in my book. You really find out what kind of Alabama fans we have if anybody really wants him. Football mind, yes, but off the field, I want the Nick Saban type that's going to take the freshmen to his house every year to the lake, throw them around, throw them around that lake on that boat. I tell you, that's one of the things that Saban's probably going to miss the most every year at his lake house.
Yeah. And you bring up a great point, Todd. Is you better be careful what you ask for and what you're willing to sacrifice to win. I think anybody with a good head can win at Alabama. I don't think Alabama's going away. I think that Burns has proven that he can get the right guy. So I'm going to trust him, and whoever he gets, I believe he'll have them prepared. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Hey, and listen, we're gonna be talking about this for a while. We ain't gonna get it all in today. Ryan Fowler went from 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock last night, and I have to try to get it all in an hour. So y'all know we'll be talking about this more tomorrow. Pat, you're on with Martin and Xavier on the Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning, Martin. I thoroughly agree with you. This morning, I'm going to make Dabo say no.
Yeah. I'm glad you feel that way, Pat.
I'm going to make him say no. I'm going to make him say no at the tune of $15 million per year.
Yeah.
And that's just it. Dabo's a proven winner. He's who I wanted from the get-go. Whenever I first started, thinking about this, we all got together as a group of buddies 2 years ago.
Pat, let me ask it this way. If I were to write you a resume and not put names on it, who we hiring?
We got to hire Dabo. There's no doubt about it. Dabo will change. I think Dabo's already changing. Dabo sees that he's got to have come to the corporate session, and he's got to let these kids look around. He's got to let them, but he's got to understand he's got a product of Alabama that's far superior to anywhere else. But some other ones are getting a little better, but we're still the gold standard. Coach Saban made it that way.
Absolutely.
And it's just is.
Thanks.
And
go ahead, Pat. I got to get the break here. What you got? Anything else, really quick? I got 2 more calls. I got to get on the other side.
Yeah. I understand that. But hey, but then again, hey, if I can't have Dabo, I don't want anybody else but Lane. and I'll baby say, if you give me an unlimited, just like President Washington, our first president, and so I cannot take a salary for taking care of my school, that I will babysit Lane for an unlimited expense account.
I had someone tell me, said, Martin, I want Lane, and I'm going to recommend hire Lane and make you his accountability partner. I don't know if that worked or not. All right, man. Thanks, Pat. Come back on the other side. We'll get Phillip and Bryce right here on the Martin Houston Show. Hey, guys, as we go to break here, I want to remind you, the portal closed, but the portal does open back up because of the coach change. So I know Ryan Williams decommitted. I don't think that means we lost him. I think there could be some guys that hop in the portal or maybe even change their mind and go to the league in the next day or so. All right, we'll finish the conversation on the airwaves. I'm going to go a little overtime for those of you who may be listening on the live stream. We'll keep it rolling at Martin J. Houston 35 on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. The drive this morning's a pretty quiet one with no big accidents or breakdowns or heavy interstate backups on the board. If you're traveling 2059 from Foster's out to Cottondale or Lurling Wallace down from Northport, crossing over the river and continuing on up to Jack Warner, you're moving at posted speeds. It's a very quiet start all around, at least for the time being. So let's hope that doesn't change a lot as we move along for this Thursday morning drive. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Ray Romero.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Thursday morning. If now former Alabama head football coach Nick Saban was watching any TV last night, he may have checked his pulse. It's hard to determine if all the media coverage was praise for his career or a eulogy. The head man at Bama for 17 years shocked the sports world with his retirement late yesterday. The man with the most college football national championships will still have an impact on Tuscaloosa and Alabama. Miss Terry, his wife, promised the philanthropic organization Nick's Kids will continue to operate. I'm Don Hartley.
On the next Inside the Locker Room with Coach Wimp Sanderson and Barry Sanderson.
Tune in Thursday, 7:30. We'll have JC Sherman. JC fresh off his wedding. We'll talk about the Michigan game with JC. Also, we'll look ahead to the Alabama-Mississippi State game, basketball game over in Starkville, Mississippi. We'll also take your phone calls in the second hour on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
Inside the Locker Room, weekdays 7 to 9 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
Townsend Nissan Super Sale is underway right now with instant savings from $2,000 to $10,000 on most in-stock units. No reason
Reasonable offer refused. Shop Townsend Nissan today. Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. In the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. The ugly truth is when you buy a timeshare, you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. I recently helped a couple that had their maintenance fees go from $800 to $3,200 a year. They also received a $4,000 assessment for a hurricane that was over 1,000 miles away. Sound crazy? The crazy thing is this never ends. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit. Call 800-414-7272. That's 800-414-7272. 800-414-7272.
Hey, this is Reagan, owner of R&R Cigars, the Cigar Mansion in downtown Tuscaloosa, located at 2703 6th Street across from the Home 2 Suites. Come down to R&R and see why we're the ultimate cigar and bourbon experience. With over 165 bourbons and 5 private barrels, our selection of bourbon is unmatched. We have the best cocktails around and our cigar selection is legendary. Our lounge and service are world-class. Come and experience the luxury of the mansion and see why it's a world-renowned cigar and spirits destination.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Hey, all y'all are talking about Belichick. Let that go. I don't think we need to put Belichick into the conversation. Belichick coached till he became, I guess, kind of irrelevant and lost touch. And I think that's also in the back of Saban's mind. Remember, Saban always told us, if I can't do it at the level that I want to do it, I'm not going to keep doing it. And do I think that portal, NIL, can't get great coaches all impact him being able to do it at that level? Yes, but I also think family and his obligation and responsibility to family, when you add those others in, helps him know he can't do it at that level. I think coach is showing us once again how to be a man who leads, who has led young men well. Got a couple calls want to work in really quick. Philip, you on? What's on your mind, sir?
Yeah, Martin, I believe if it doesn't happen today, and I think that's a possibility. I think today is a real strong possibility. But if it doesn't happen today, Saturday is the deadline. And what happens Saturday? Saturday is the day that the Texans play Cleveland. So Saturday falls almost within the 72-hour period that a lot of people are talking about. And for that reason, I think D'Amico is still a slight possibility.
I think he's definitely a possibility. I mean, from a source that told me, I know that he's a possibility. I know he's in the conversation. Unless I trust the person who said that to me. So but I throw in there the difficulty of because he's in the playoffs. If he wasn't in the playoffs, we might be looking at D'Amico Ryan being named.
Well, that's right. But if it was Sunday, that's a little bit different. But Saturday makes it more of a possibility for D'Amico, in my opinion. And I think Saturday is about as long as Alabama can go, in my opinion.
Yeah, and like I said, and thanks for that. I agree with that, Philip. I appreciate that insight. Good insight there from Philip. X, what you got real quick, and then I'm going to get to Bryce. Bryce Young calling in? Quickly, son.
Man, it what a day it is. But hey, Alabama's still in good hands. This is not Alabama hiring a coach in 2007 where the program is in shambles.
Right. Hey, and hey guys.
But to wrap it up, Nick Saban went out with a winning streak against every SEC school.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Bryce, you're in on the Alabama One hotline. Burns was hired for this moment. Is Bryce there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead, Bryce.
Hey,
when we needed a basketball coach, what did Greg Burns do?
Got us a coach.
All right. Do you have confidence in him?
Absolutely.
Okay. And what a lot of people don't know is Nick Saban had a lot to do with that.
Agree. I think
because he called Izzo. He called Izzo, and the way I heard it, and he said, "I'm too old to start all over, but I tell you, you need to go get Nick."
Yeah.
So they went to get on the plane with the Buffalo.
Yep. I think Greg Burns was hired for this hire.
Yeah, exactly. Let me ask you a question. Who do you think we need, Martin? I've never called in on your show before.
Thanks, Brian. I really, I mean, I'm going to tell you, I think we need a proven guy who can handle Alabama and understands Alabama. So Dabo is a guy that I believe, if you were to lay his resume out, he's the most qualified guy. I can get past, because what people say is he lost some really good coaches. Well, he can get those coaches back at Alabama. They say he don't know the NIL. Well, you go back and look, he did do NIL. And then they say he don't know the portal. Well, the portal at Alabama is different. And I think Dabo would understand that he needs to bring in key free agents. So I without a doubt, I think that would be the case. Hey, Bryce, thanks for calling, man. Call back. Apologize that we're up against the break. And I have to get out of here from the natural side of things on the radio airways. But hey, we're going to do a little OT on the live stream. If you're not following the live stream, facebook.com/Martin J. Houston 35. Martin J. Houston, the number 3, the number 5. Hey, X, thanks, man. We're going to be talking about it tomorrow. We didn't get it all in, so I appreciate you and everything you do each and every day to help this show be great. Thanks to all the callers, listeners, viewers, and chatters out there. Whew. Remember this, trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Thank you, Coach Saban. For those of you on the live stream, we'll be back in just a moment on the other side. For those on the radio airwaves, stay tuned for more of Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanders. I'm sure the conversation will continue. Roll Tide, everybody.
We go celebrate and have a good time. It's time to
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Hey, everybody out there. Hey, guys, we're still here. I told you we're going to keep it rolling right here on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 radio airwaves are gone, but the Martin Houston Show, the Martin Houston radio network is still live. Got a couple comments and thoughts here and that I still want to get to. Thanks, guys, for hanging in there. Bam Bam 72 said, Dabo knows the history and the tradition. So not like he would be stepping into unfamiliar territory. I think that's huge. I think knowing the tradition and knowing what's expected of the coach at the University of Alabama, understanding the spotlight of the University of Alabama. What we cannot do is go back to what we did before. Okay? We cannot go back to the 30-year desert where we found water in the stream in 92. I'm afraid Lanning, I like him in the sense of his coaching. I don't like the quirkiness, but I don't think he's ready yet. I think that's going to take a little time. Kiffin, I think, is ready, except for his maturity and his off the field. Now everybody deserves a second chance, and maybe he's grown and matured and all of that. But ask yourself this following question. This is what I tell people. Forget twerk, the little quirks. Do a pro and con, and then take resumes and lay them out. At 53, do you think Dabo's too old to change his ways? If you were to put a resume down, tell me, if you took every coach in the country, who would have the most impressive resume, y'all? Is it Kirby Smart? How many times did Kirby beat Nick Saban? Now, how many times he could have beat him? That's a different story. He could have beat us on the second 26, but he didn't. So the possibility is that Kirby could be like 3-3, or Kirby could easily be 6-0. I mean 0-6. Think about that for a second. What's Dabo's record against Nick Saban? 2-2. And Dabo could easily have been 3-1. Okay? Guys, we can't afford, as Curtis Moore II put, we can't afford a Franchione, a Mike Price, Shula, or a Dubose. We can't afford to go down that path. And the best resume in college football, like it, love it, or hate it, quirky or not, when you look at results, it's Dabo and Kirby and then everybody else. It's Dabo and Kirby and if you were to put resumes on a table and no names at the top, no universities at the top, just what they've accomplished, is Dabo and Kirby. And the reality of it is, you may give Dabo a slight edge if you put the name of the school, because Dabo did it at Clemson, and everybody always said Georgia was a sleeping giant. If Dabo can get what he got at Clemson, could he possibly get even more here at Alabama? I don't know. I'm just saying, don't write him off because of the last couple of years. And for those who may have an issue with Dabo's faith, it blows my mind that there's people who have issues with Dabo's faith but have no issues with Kiffin's off the field antics. But anyway, that's a sidebar that I'm not getting into. Dabo knows the history. MHS047 says, I don't want Lanning. Bama's decision needs to be based on long-term success, not short-term success. Tell me what Lanning's won. Now, Lanning can recruit, but has he won anything? And I'm not trying to anti Lanning. I'm just pointing out the other side of it. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all, I did send Dabo. I guess I have to be honest. I sent Dabo a text and said, Dabo, are you interested? If you are, I'll go ahead and start the Dabo to Bama campaign. I hadn't heard back from Dabo yet, but I did offer up my services to sell for him. I'm going to sell for him anyway because I think he'd be a great fit. I think Sark, even though he's not had double-digit wins, guys, other than this year, I think he would be a good fit. And Robert earlier said it in the program that he feels like this guy looked natural on the sideline in Alabama. I agree with that. I agree with that. So we'll see what happens. Blind Squirrel Sports, and I won't miss seeing UGA lose to him, but I will miss hearing Nick Saban's sound bites. Congrats to the GOAT on an unbelievable career. Guys, I guess to those of you who are listening out there right now, how you feeling? Do you feel like the dynasty that we experienced, meaning 6 championships in 17 years or 6 in the last 15 years, that is over? But do you feel like Alabama is still going to be one of the programs year in and year out that's going to be competing for a championship? And of the coaches out there that's on our short list, do you think if Dabo came, if Lanning came, if Sark came, if Kiffin came, I'm going to throw another one in the mix. I'm going to tell you somebody I would like to see if D'Amico is not in that list. And the guys I've named, I like the dude at Florida State, Norvell. I know he didn't do right down the stretch with his team and he was frustrated. I think I might like that dude to be my coach, potentially as a guy. Because think about it, he rebuilt Florida State partially through the portal and through recruiting. Made him relevant for the first time in a long time. So we'll see. Matt Mays saying, I feel like this hire is going to affect the program for the next 10 to 12 years. And I agree with that, even if this coach is not here that long. I think this coach makes the transition. And if we stick with him and he stay here, hey, let's roll. And we'll talk about this tomorrow. Let's say we get our guy. And in the next 15 years, no, the next 17 years, which would be 2040, how many championships would you be happy with? How many championships does this next coach have to win for you to be happy? Let that sink in for a second. Is it half? Is it one every 5 years? Which is dominant. Think about that for a second. The truth of the matter is, if you won a championship every 5 years, that would be a more dominant run than all but a couple of programs have ever experienced. You know, one of the things that we don't talk about enough, guys, Nick Saban, I know we won a bunch of national championships, 6. But do you understand the University of Alabama in their history only has 30 SEC championships and Nick Saban has 9? He has 9. He's 9-1 in SEC championship games. And here's the thing. Back in the day, he would have had more because of the way the records you used to get it. You didn't have to play that championship game, but he only lost one of those. 9-1, and I think that was his first one to Florida, which was the dynasty at that time. He dethroned kings of football. I'm gonna read something, guys, and I'll probably share this again tomorrow. So y'all, I apologize if you have to hear it again tomorrow. Nick Saban, we talk about all the things he did in terms of national championships. Guys, listen to this. He had the 6 national championship games, but his teams went 21-2 against top 10 in those 6 seasons. In other words, he didn't win national championships by playing no one. 21-2 in the championship seasons. Since 2008, he's 37-15. He has more wins than like the top 5 coaches combined against top 10 teams. Alabama ranked number 1 in the AP poll. Listen to this, guys. At least 1 week for 15 straight years. This is the first year in 15 years that we didn't reach number 1. And we were an overtime win and 1 game from making it 16. The prior record was the domination of Miami, and they had 7. Let that sink in. That was considered one of the greatest dynasties ever, and they had 7. He more than doubled theirs. Alabama had 0 Heisman Trophy winners. Now Alabama is tied for the most Heisman Trophy winners by a single coach. Saban tied Frank Leahy of Notre Dame. He has 4, but he's the only one to have 3 different positions winning: running back, wide receiver, and quarterback. Let that sink in. A defensive-minded coach is the first coach to coach 3 different offensive Heisman Trophy winners. 3. Now, this may be the most shocking statistic you're going to hear. Nobody's talking about this. When he arrived here, the Alabama program had 6 individual national award winners. 6 individual national award winners. I want y'all to guess and tell me, how many do you think Alabama has now? While you're thinking, how many? Now, listen to this one more time. And like I said, I apologize. Y'all may have to hear this again tomorrow. But 6 individual championships. National awards. How many do you think they have right now? Here's a couple responses while you're thinking on that. Curtis Moore II said, I think we will still be relevant. post Saban, just like LSU was still relevant when Saban left LSU. I believe Les Miles has a ring because of Saban's recruiting impact. Ditto, I think, without a doubt. And had there not been a Nick Saban come back to college football, Les Miles would have won probably 2 to 3 more national titles. I think Saban kept LSU from a couple of titles. Matt May said, I give the next coach 4 years to have us in the Natty, and it's a bust, really, with the talent and program we have established already. CJ Watson responding to how do I feel? Shocked. Last week, I wouldn't have been shocked, but this week, I'm floored. I had resolved that we had at least one more year. The other feeling is grateful. What a run and what an impact that goes beyond the field that he and Miss Terry had on the community, the university, and the state. Alabama is better than it was 17 years ago. I'm grateful for that. And Jerome Edwards saying, if Dabo can adapt to changes in college football, he would be perfect pick, and he does have the best resume. I think Dabo will adapt. I know we talked about that. I think he will adapt. I don't think I think he's already begun that transition. I would also challenge you guys to think if Dabo had not here's what I think impacted Dabo more than the transition. I think people think it's the transition. I think it's the loss of his coordinators and his coaches. I think the fact that his offensive coordinator is at Virginia and his defensive coordinator is the head coach at Oklahoma, I think that impacted him more than we realize, more than the NIL and the portal decision. I think those guys, and they're great recruiters on top of it, I think he could rebound and get that back here. All right. Now, guys, listen to this. I told you, this is going to blow your mind. This was the one that jumped out to me from a football field accomplishment. I'm going to slow read it. The Alabama football program, the greatest tradition in college football history, 17 years ago, had 6 individual national award winners when Saban stood up at that podium and said, I'm going to make people fear playing us. As it sits today, Alabama has 60. 10 times the number of national awards. He won 10 times the national individual awards in 17 years compared to the 100-plus year history of Alabama football. Let that sink in for a second. He talked about he wanted his players to feel value. He did it. Individual value. His players at Alabama won 66 All-American honors, 58 different players in 16 seasons. Mean he didn't get any in the first year. 8 players have been named 2-time All-Americans, 46 consensus All-Americans, and 25 unanimous selection. And Will Anderson, the first 2-time unanimous All-American. Oh, but watch this. It's not just about football, guys. They are called student athletes. Listen to this. Student athletes. Alabama success on the field over the past 16 years has coincided with success in the classroom. Since Nick Saban has arrived, 656 college degrees. 656 college degrees and 103 master degrees. I think that's probably more than the university had in the prior 50 years. I don't know what the numbers are, but that is crazy. I haven't looked at the numbers completely, but that is crazy. Man, this is so This what he did, like I said, is the greatest of all time, and he's the greatest of all time in virtually every category. For us Bama fans, guys, I think this was more sudden than Nick Saban intended. Do I think that there's extenuating circumstances that led to this outside of NIL and all of that? I do. And much respect to Coach Saban. I love the fact, those of you who've been listening, all week I was talking about what's the future of Saban, Belichick, and Henry. I put those three guys kind of in a category because to me, they have argument for being potentially the best to ever play at their position. That's the potential. That's and Belichick didn't go out soon enough. Saban, I don't know that he was ready to go, but he had some things and he had to make a decision, and he's going out still at the highest level with much respect and as the GOAT. Derrick Henry may be in that same boat. Could you imagine what Derrick Henry would have done had he been playing in an era where they ran the ball more? He would have been even more dominant. So we got to say goodbye to the GOAT, but are we going to be saying hello to the next GOAT? Ryan Gunn saying Lanning is already in Tuscaloosa. Guys, he may be a great coach. Is he worth $20 million? Because that's the buyout. His buyout, confirmed buyout from Oregon, is $20 million. Is Alabama ready to make that commitment? And is Lanning the guy? I know a lot of people say Lanning is a Saban guy. Lanning was a GA here for 1 year. Lanning is a Kirby guy. Is that enough of a break from Alabama, but yet a connection to Alabama and Saban that we will feel good about if that's a true statement? Lanning in Tuscaloosa. Let me see if I can find Greg Burns' last statement, which says, "Until you hear from me, don't believe it." Oh, Matt May says, "Nope, he may be great, but he's not ready. He's not ready." That's my concern. Has he done enough? And people have, I've heard some people make a comparison to Nate Oates. Guys, Nate Oates was seasoned when he came here. Nate Oates, I think he had proven a little better. Ryan Gunn said CBS reported he's in Tuscaloosa. That's huge. If that's a true statement, that is huge. Because I don't think they're going to go through a whole lot of, rigmarole, and I don't think they're bringing guys in unless that guy has committed that he'll be the man. As I told you, I have some quirks, concerns about quirks in Lanning's personality, but I also think Lanning has the pedigree and the foundation that he could potentially be great. So we'll see. I'm gonna have to get out of here. I told you I'd go about 15 minutes over. We went about 20. We'll be back tomorrow, guys, at 6, and we may have to go extra again tomorrow because if this story breaks today, tomorrow, etc., we'll talk about it. CJ Watson saying Lanning is pretty far down my list. Now, if we hire him, I'm all in. It's my sentiments exactly, CJ. Of all the guys we're naming, Lanning, Kiffin, Sark, D'Amico Ryan, Dabo Swinney. If we get any of those 5 guys, and I would throw Norvell in there. I know nobody's talking about him, and I don't think he's going to be necessarily there. Any of those guys, I think, will win at Alabama. And I hear people talking about D'Amico Ryans is not ready, and he's only had 1 year as a head coach. Dude, I'd take D'Amico Ryans 1 year as a 1 year as a head coach in the NFL and having been a DC at the 49ers over Lanning in 2 years as a head coach at Oregon. And people say, but he's never recruited. Man, what do you mean he's never recruited? So? I mean, it's not like he has to fire everybody at Alabama. It's not like he's not going to go out and hire great coaches. Do you understand? Now, in a different way, guys, nobody's talked about this, and we'll talk about this tomorrow. But hold on to this thought. Do you all understand, if you think it was crazy when they hired Deion Sanders at Colorado, do you understand what would happen at the University of Alabama and the access to the players and the alumni and the people who would go all in behind helping make DeMeco Ryan successful? Do you understand that DeMeco Ryan will be able to call from a list of? Has anybody watched the offense at the Texans? That young dude comes from the whole tree of Shanahan, which includes the Rams head coach, the 49ers head coach, the Eagles, and the Indianapolis Colts. All of those guys were on that same staff. This is the only one who hasn't got to a head coach position yet. And he's the offensive coordinator under DeMeco Ryan. Have you watched what CJ Stroud has shredded the NFL under this guy's tutelage. DeMeco Ryan and CJ Stroud are the first rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback to get to the league. I mean, get to the playoffs. DeMeco Ryan coaching our defense. Are y'all worried about Kevin Steele retiring if DeMeco Ryan comes in? I ain't worried about that. We'll get to see a new age of defense. And he brings this guy, which that guy may not come. But he then gives the right offensive coordinator. Woo! Ashley Parrish says DeMeco Ryan was here winning during the lean years. He has nothing to prove to me. He's ready. Go get him if he wants to come. DeMeco Ryan would be awesome according to Ryan Gunn. Woo, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. This is an exciting time. It's a sad time, a grateful time, and an exciting time for Alabama football. The new day is upon us, and we'll keep talking about it. And here's something that no one's talked about. What will Oregon and Nike offer up? Blind Squirrel Sports saying he has big pockets. Do you think that they're not going to bid like out of the wazoo to keep him? Is Alabama ready to make that commitment? Are we looking at Sark and Lanning being $15 million coaches where we could get Dabo for what he's making now or what we're paying Saban now? Are we ready to go in and bump that up? We'll talk about all of those conversations and more. DeMeco Ryan at 1 year, I'll take him over Dan Lanning with 2 years of experience in recruiting expert. I'll give DeMeco the heads up, thumbs up that he could go out and get the places that fall into his weaknesses. And we would have what we want. And we'd make history. Let's not forget DeMeco Ryan at the helm would be a history-making moment for the University of Alabama. Are we ready for it? If we want to be champions, I think we need to at least do the Mal Moore version and camp out at the Texans and see if DeMeco Ryan is interested in coming home. Wouldn't it be a great story that Mama came calling? We'll see ya. We'll talk to you later for the Martin Houston Show. We'll be back tomorrow. Roll Tide out there, everybody. We'll catch you on tomorrow for more of the Martin Houston Show, the Sound of Bama Sports, your show, your team. Roll Tide, everybody. Have a